Good morning. My name is Nick Holmes, and I am the chair of the Forum's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Welcome to this breakfast. Diversity and inclusion are two of the Forum's key values. They're something that we promote. We promote it within our organization, we promote it within our profession, we promote it within our industry. We promote it in order to reduce and remove the barriers for inclusion by lawyers of color, women lawyers, lawyers with disabilities, and those of us who are members of the LGBTQ community. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about some of the things that the Forum is doing and some of the things that the Forum is going to be doing in the immediate future. I want to highlight 6 things that we do. Number 1, at every national meeting we hold a breakfast like this. And we bring in a guest speaker like Vicki in order to highlight or underscore some of the lessons that we can learn relating to diversity, inclusion, and professionalism. Number 2, the ABA has a diverse speaker policy. We don't adhere to it. We exceed it. They require that on every panel there be a certain amount of the speakers that are diverse. One of the Forum's goals is to put that policy behind us and exceed it, and we do that at every meeting. Number 3, one of the ways that we do that is our committee has developed a diverse speaker database to identify and promote women, people of color, people who are with disabilities, who are qualified to speak and who are good speakers. We've had that for a number of years. I want you guys to help me because in the coming months we're going to be kicking that up a notch. We're going to be making it much more useful and much more powerful. So keep an eye out for that, and please, if you think that you fall within that category and you'd like to be a speaker, nominate yourself. If you see somebody who's a speaker, who is a diverse member, please identify them, promote them, help us identify diverse speakers. The 4th thing that we do is we have a program that we've run for several years called Bring a Diverse Member program. It's something that really is a great deal for everybody involved. Ground rules are simple. If you're a member of the Forum and you bring a diverse person to one of our meetings and they're a first-time attendee, their registration fee is waived and your registration fee is waived. So 2 people get in without having to pay registration. So keep an eye out for that. Look for members of your firm. Look for people that you deal with who are diverse. If they've not been to our Forum, please invite them. Bring them to the Forum. You'll get a benefit, they will get a benefit. The 5th thing that we do, at every national meeting and at the Trial Academy, the Forum offers diversity scholarships, and we award those to deserving diverse members of our community so that it's a little bit less expensive for them to come to the meeting. Usually we award 6. At this meeting, we had so many applicants that were so qualified that we awarded 8. And I would ask that all 8 of them, if they're in the room, please stand. Rachel Burkhardt from Denver, Andrea Jamiak from Milwaukee, Victoria Kejo from Los Angeles, Jeff Palachuk from Seattle, Raina Richter, Los Angeles, Becca Sherman, Lexington, Kentucky, Sarah Van Norman, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Zelma Frederick from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you guys. Welcome to the Forum. We hope that you keep coming back. The 6th thing that we do, our flagship program, is the Diversity Fellowship Program. If you look around the room, if you look at many of our leaders, they started out as Diversity Fellows. The Diversity Fellowship Program is very, very competitive. It's a 3-year program. People that are awarded Diversity Fellowships get all their registration fees waived for the entire 3 years. They get a stipend so that they can attend every national meeting. They get other benefits, but probably the most important benefit is they automatically get put on a steering committee of a division. So they get a leg up and they get introduced and they get working in the Forum. It's been a very, very successful program. If you're at all interested, Lori Baggett is the head of the subcommittee, And we have the deadline is a week from today, so there's not a lot of time, but if you're interested, please submit an application and please join us in that program. One of the other things I want to highlight is that we are keeping our pedal to the metal. We're looking for other ways to improve what we do. In last fall, we had a meeting in Philadelphia. It was devoted entirely to issues relating to diversity, inclusion, and professionalism. That is the first time an ABA organization devoted an entire program to those issues. And I'd like to thank our chair, Christine, for coming up with that idea and pushing it forward, because it broke barriers. We were able to achieve diversity not only in the speakers at that program, but also in the attendees. 30% were women, roughly 25% were members of ethnic, racial minority, disabled lawyers, or members of the LGBTQ community. We are proud of what we've accomplished. We are proud of our programs, but we fully realize that we have a lot more to do. Last year, we hired an outside consultant, Sharon Jones, who did a year-long study on what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. We've met with her, we've read her recommendations, she met with all the leadership of the forum, and on Wednesday, the forum adopted an action plan for the next 2 or 3 years, concrete, achievable action items that we can do to make our forum more welcoming, more open, more diverse. You guys didn't come here to hear me, you came here to hear Vicki, so I'm going to sit down and shut my mouth. But I just want to say that the programs and the policies that we've done are important, but that's not where we're going to make the change. Diversity and inclusion happens on an individual level. When I reach out to you, when I make a connection with you, when I create a friendship with you. Please join me in helping us achieve those goals by reaching out on a person-to-person level and welcoming others into our organization. Thank you. Christine?
Good morning, everyone. I am honored to be here as your forum chair. My name is Christine Cubes from the Cubes Law Office in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick Holmes, for being our chair of diversity and inclusion, for really walking the talk as our leader on this issue. It is a person-to-person situation. We only can make change. We only can make change when each of us is involved, right? Each of us has to be invested and believe in the good and the progress that needs to be made. And we're really working on it hard here institutionally at the forum, as Nick explained. And we do that with a lot of heart and a lot of thought and a lot of meaning, but it's carried forth with every one of you in the room. And I just want to say, wow, look at this room full of lawyers who are up at this early hour to be here to hear a good word. I really appreciate your being here. I appreciate your support. And I'm really excited for you to hear our guest speaker today. So without further ado, let me get into that. Our guest speaker today is a role model for taking an ordinary person like any of us and doing something extraordinary. Vicki O'Leary, who you see here on the cover of ENR, Vicki O'Leary is an iron worker. She's one of 3% of the iron worker trade that is female in the United States. Once in the field, Vicki witnessed a broken system: sexual harassment of women, harassment of other minorities, making sites unsafe. And she founded a program to address that problem. And that program has been adopted not only by iron workers around the nation, but by other trades as well. And Vicki now works with the Iron Workers Management Progressive Action Cooperative Trust, also called Impact, okay? And we have Peter Hayes here from Impact. Peter, right? Thank you, as a representative of Impact as well. And Vicki is working with Impact to educate the trades on interrupting bias and creating environments of inclusion on work sites, where workers no longer need to fear harassment, bullying, and predatory behavior. How amazing is that? Her work includes policies on maternity leave, on prevention of harassment and bullying, providing properly sized personal protective equipment for workers on the work site, and creating an inclusive work environment. All of these initiatives go together for inclusion, for safety, for all workers to be able to do their work. It's amazing. So for these reasons, Vicki received this award from the ENR as the Award of Excellence recipient in 2019. And she immediately took my call when I called her almost a year ago. And I gave her an invitation to come and tell her story and share her wisdom, her experience, her strength with us so that we can take that back to our clients and our environments and help them make the same ripple effect and the same change. And she was very prompt to accept our invitation. So I'm very, very honored to present to you our very own champion of change, Vicki O'Leary.
I have to move around when I talk, so we're going to start with that. I am very humbled to be here, and I'm going to tell you a few reasons why in just a moment. But I'm going to start with when I was about 2 years old, so you understand a little bit more about who I am. My parents tell me my favorite saying when I was 2 years old was, "Me do it, meself." So that kind of gives you an idea of who I am and how I started with this crazy path. I have an older brother. He's 3 years older. We were very competitive growing up. But I also, nobody will ever love my brother like I did. I really worship the ground that he walks on. Not so much anymore, but I did as a child. And my brother and I had motorcycles when we were young. My brother had a Yamaha 250 Enduro, and I had a Yamaha 90. We lived in Arkansas. We lived out in the country. And my brother's motorcycle was sitting there, and my dad and mom were outside. And I said to my dad, "Dad, do you think I could ride John's 250? And I was 12. He said, "Yeah, you probably could." So I waited till he went in the house, and I jumped on my brother's motorcycle, and off I went. When I got home, you know you're in trouble when both the parents are standing out there waiting? It was hilarious in so many ways when I think back and look at the looks on their face. And my dad said, what are you doing? I said, "Well, you said I could probably ride it." And he was like, "That didn't mean you could ride it." But I did ride it. So my parents had a handful with me. I was, you know, they say if you have the first child and they're so good, you'll have the second. There was no more after me. There were none. So with that, I went to work downtown Chicago in a law firm. I was a secretary. Back then they called us legal secretaries. We were not admin assistants. And it was just an amazing place to work. But at the same time, I went home from work one day and something had happened at work and I wanted to talk to my mom and dad about it at the dinner table. My brother and father are sitting there, both iron workers, by the way. My brother was an apprentice. And my brother turns to me and tells me to shut up, that I can't do what him and my father can do. Game on, right? Our conversation just ensued. We were arguing. My dad finally says, "Why don't you just take the test and see if you can do better than what your brother did on it?" And that was my intention, was just to take the test. My brother told me that on the test there were going to be these little circles and you had to draw them, but not touch the line before it and keep getting bigger and bigger. I practiced circles for a month. I was good at them. When I went to take the test, they were rectangles. Not cool. With that was in July. Construction doesn't happen in very fast paces when you're taking these tests. It's not like you're going to go to work the next day. Not only did I have to go get a physical to prove that I could do physically hard work back then, you also had to take a test. And then you got put on a list, and then when your name came up, that's when you would go to work. When my name was drawn to go to work, I get a phone call at the law firm. And the apprenticeship coordinator tells me, "We want you to go to work tomorrow at McCormick Place." I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, can I call you back? And I called my mother. Mom, these people are serious. They want me to go to ironwork. She says, I've always told you you could do whatever it is you wanted to do, that your gender shouldn't hold you back. My mom is a feminist and born in 1940, which makes her really way ahead of her time. I said, all right, well, okay, maybe I'll do this. So I called him back, told him I would take the job. It was at McCormick Place Annex. On my way home, I found out the perils of trying to get PPE. I was trying to get work boots on my way home, stopped at Sears. Guess what? They don't make them in your size. We can give you hiking boots. Hiking boots. Okay, so I get home, my dad gives me a good, nice crescent wrench and a tape. And he tells me every good apprentice needs a crescent wrench and a tape. So he gives me that. And my stupid hiking boots. It's March of 1985. I'm 20 years old. I walk on the job the next day, scared out of my mind, because I don't know where I'm going. Everybody's eyes are on me, because they've never seen a woman walk on the job site before. And I had to go to work for a man who was a legend in his own mind. There was two of us. There was a guy and there was me. Where does he take Frank? To the first floor. Where does he take me? To the top. I worked Thursday and Friday. I had a date on Friday night. I told my mom, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna lay down for a few minutes, I'll be good to go. Yeah, right. I actually climbed into bed, not to be seen, until the following morning. I have never worked so hard and felt so good about what I was doing. But when I went to the attorney that I worked for to see if I could get a leave of absence, I asked for 2 weeks. He told me that he would give me 1 week and I would come crawling back to work. That's challenge number 2. I'm much smarter about challenges today, but back then I was not. So now that you know a little bit about me, you know that I don't like to be told no, and I certainly don't like to be told that I can't do something. All right? With that, the Ironworkers Be That One Guy came out of tragedy. So let me tell you about that for a moment. February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2017. I look on social media, and every single trade has their own private, secret Facebook groups. I was on Facebook, and I see this story. Udi Hicks, a carpenter apprentice out of Fresno, California, was bludgeoned to death on the job. She was working with a day laborer, and she had complained about him. She was an African-American woman, and he was an Hispanic male. She complained, nobody did anything, and ends up bludgeoned to death. When I tell you that the tradeswomen's circle is very small, it's very small. Even if we don't know you, we know of you, or you're just a sister. We consider each one of them sisters. I was so taken aback by this and just angry. I was just so angry because I know that I'd been afraid on jobs other than the actual work that I was doing. I've worked 40 stories in the air, but I actually was more afraid of the people that I worked around at times than I was the actual work. That evening, I was on the phone with 2 ironworker women. We kind of had a conference call, huddle up. And during this call, my question was, why couldn't there be that one guy on that job that could have changed this situation? Why wasn't there someone there that could have said something, done something, or changed the tone? And that's what we're going to talk about today. With tradeswomen, there's really less than 4% nationwide. If you include the admins, or, you know, they actually will say that the secretary or the admin assistant on a job site is part of that workforce. I beg to differ, but that's okay. We'll go with their stats for what they are. But if you take architects, engineers, project labor, project managers, and all that stuff, you've got about just under 10%. So there's not a lot of us, and the chances of seeing us on very many jobs is pretty limited. But there's barriers to getting in to begin with. You've got the industry stereotypes that you have to be a brawly man to be able to do this. And I can tell you that, quite frankly, things have changed to the point where when I first started, there was no such thing as fall protection. I've worked 40 stories walking a beam with no fall protection. Today you wouldn't think twice about doing that, right? I mean, you would put your harness on and you would just go to work. But the stereotypes are that construction workers are these burly men. Not so much. And then you also get that inevitable vocational education. It's like, well, they've taken VOTEC out of most high schools, right? So you don't get that there. And not everybody is meant to be an attorney. There are people that we need to work with their hands. Not everyone is college material. Without having VOTEC education in high schools, we've really done young people a disservice. And then you've got outreach, that when you go to job fairs in high school, who's behind them? Who's working those booths? I'm going to be pretty blunt and tell you that it's male, pale, and stale. It's a very nice way of saying that it's old white men. But I'm going to stick with male, pale, and stale, okay? For better. So you've got them. Why would a young woman go up to this person to find out about the work that they are trying to get them to do? You need to have people that look like the people that you're trying to get. But actually, by high school, you're probably too late, right? We need to get into the middle schools. We also need to get into the inner city and let them know that there's other things that they can do to get into the middle class, other than going to college and getting themselves put into debt. But then we also find that there's differential training on the jobs. There's many times that I was told to go sweep the trailer, go count bolts, go make up bolts. And somebody that had been in less time than me was actually getting to go up on the iron and learn something. So we have to keep that in mind. And then also with hiring, we still have contractors that call the halls and say, don't send me a woman. It's illegal. And you guys can probably tell me how many ways. But it's illegal to do that. And then over time, they'll tell the people of color and the women, just go on home, we got this, and keep the other people there. But let's talk about turnover, because it costs a lot of money to train an apprentice in an apprenticeship program. In my union, it costs about $32,000 for a 4-year program. If we lose an apprentice, say halfway through their 4 years, not only have we wasted $16,000 on that person, but now we've got to do that all over again for somebody else just to get them to that point. So we're losing a lot of training dollars, as well as morale and productivity from doing that. And it actually directly impacts the company's bottom line, right? If you've got to now take another apprentice who's been on your job for quite some time, that knows what's going on, and now you've got to bring in another apprentice to get up to speed. And then there's a lot of times, you know, when we don't come to work, we don't get paid. There's no such thing as sick time. But when we're so unhappy with what's going on the job, we'll call in sick. And not only are we basically putting our brothers and sisters into harm because we're not there, so it actually slows production. But I tied this all together to safety. And what does it have to do with safety? It's a major concern on most construction sites. Safety is number one, or at least it should be. But bullying and harassment has kind of been one of those things where it's the last frontier, right? You could still be a jerk and be on a construction site, and it's okay. It's not okay. And then you've got people that they just don't know how to act. I'm going to give you, in my head, a stat. It's not a documented stat. This is in my head stat. But 90 to 95% of the iron workers that I've worked with are really great guys. But 5 to 10% can change the tone on a job. Is it that way for you guys as well? I mean, 90 to 95% are just really good people, but why is it that 5 to 10% changes everything? And we give them the power to change everything. Why are we giving them that much power? It's crazy. So what we're trying to do is train workers to step up. Now, it doesn't have to be up in your face kind of way, but they need to treat harassment and bullying as a safety threat and do some sort of intervention. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we talk about to the iron workers that they can do. But it also complements your human resources policies on sexual harassment. When you tell somebody that you're going to have sexual harassment training, what is the first thing that happens? We all just glaze over, right? Like, oh my God. So we're not going at this from a sexual harassment kind of training, but rather taking bystanders and turning them into upstanders. So bad behavior on the job site. Let's just talk about this. This is not just a women's problem, a woman's problem. This is an industry problem. And I'll talk about some of the stats. We did an internal survey with the ironworkers. We thought, well, we need to know what's happening. So we picked what I considered a pretty progressive local. And we sent out a survey to every member. And in that survey, we found that 90% of the women had been harassed or bullied in some form of mistreatment. But over 60% of people of color that responded had also felt those same things. And when we looked at apprentices and then younger people that were working, LGBTQ, they stated that they nearly had daily or near daily incidents of harassment. So if you're not male and pale, you were the target. But we also found out that 50% of white men were harassed at some point. So this is not a woman's problem. This is not a person of color's problem. This is a construction industry issue. But we also know that differentiating between bullying and high expectations, when you start screaming and yelling at me on a job, it is not going to motivate me to do a better job. I might even slow it down. It happens. And those people that think you got to break down an apprentice to build them back up are not good leaders. And they should not be leading construction companies to get the job done. So let's talk about the domino effect of harassment. First, you've got the aggressor, the harasser, who really just wants to one-up his game from the last time he did something. So he's going to try to think about what he's going to do next. But then you've got the person who's being harassed, and they're worried about what's coming next. And the other people that are around, you know, that they have that internal voice going, I should do something, I should say something. So now they're having that internal squabble, and what you now have is a whole crew of people whose head is not in the game. Verbal abuse has no place on a construction job site. It serves no performance or production or workforce goals, and it undermines the company and makes the companies look bad. We have to change the culture. Now remember earlier I had said that prior to 1993 we really didn't have fall protection. You had a little rope on your belt. It wasn't going to do anything, but you had that. When OSHA came out with their fall arrest standard, and when job sites started bringing them on the job, I went into it kicking and screaming. I didn't want to have a leash. I thought it was stupid. And you can bet that anybody that was an iron worker at that time felt the same way. But today we wouldn't think twice about just putting on our harness and going to work. It took a cultural shift. It took from the top down and the bottom up to get it to that point. This is what we need with harassment. Construction can no longer be the last frontier that you can be a jerk, and it's okay. So we have to change the culture. So what we've done, we're trying to do, is partner with contractors. First, we partner to end job site harassment. We adopt and we enforce complaint investigations and result process. So we go through all of that with labor and management working together. That's what impact is about. Labor and management working together. We train workers, we train managers, we train leaderships, and we train the attorneys on what we're talking about. And then any harassment has to be reported and investigated. We also need to treat the victim with respect to ensure that there's not retaliation. There's this thing in construction that they call blackballing. It's alive and it's well and it's real. So if you complain, you may find yourself never able to work again. Then we have to remove the aggressor. It's always been, we're going to take the person that's been harassed, we're going to move them to another job site. What that really does is victimizes them again. So let's move the aggressor. Now, many times, or not all the time, but they could be your foreman or your superintendent. which could really be a problem on a job. But guess what? Isn't it more of a problem if he's the problem? It's time to start thinking about that. We also have to ensure the protection of the upstanders, the people that are on the job that actually say something about what they're doing, right? And then top leadership has to be aware and take responsibility. And then we have to ensure discipline is prompt, consistent, and proportionate to what happened of the severity of the circumstances. But we also want to make sure that a person that is being accused of harassment isn't falsely being accused. We can't just take a blanket statement and say, he's guilty, that's it. We really need to look into it because there are some people that will actually do that. So what we're asking is that they're not bystanders and that they actually become upstanders. The main thing to do is to help the victim exit that situation. Whether you do it by in your face kind of, knock it off kind of thing. And I'll go into a few of those. So we can do direct intervention, and that's stop it or knock it off when you see somebody harassing someone. Or you can distract, and you can go up to the person that's being harassed and say, hey, can you come over here? I need you to help me with this. Or, hey, the foreman needs you over there. It doesn't have to be in your face, but it also could be, hey, Joe, did you see that game last night? And change the tone of the job, right? Change the tone of that subject right then and there. And then later check in and see if the victim, the person that was being harassed, is okay. That's important. Everyone has a responsibility for a safe workplace. This is not just, standing by and watching it happen. But you don't have to be that in-your-face kind of person either. I love this picture, and I hope that maybe some of you can yell out what the difference is between equality and equity. Anybody? What I see with this is that we don't all start from the same place. And that if I'm working and I need a 6-foot ladder, but the guy I'm working with only needs, a 2-foot ladder, I shouldn't be penalized because I need a little bit more. And this happens on construction a lot. It's like this one size fits all with PPE. It doesn't. Boots don't fit right. I can tell you when I got my first pair of gloves, I could bend them over at my fingertips. So I even went so far to try to wash them and dry them so they'd shrink. They've gotten so much better. There are companies out there now that actually cater to what we need, which is amazing. I'm also going to talk to you about restrooms. I'm actually going to do a demonstration, which is probably going to blow your mind. Porta-johns. Awesome. There was a high-rise I was on that didn't have a lid. You ever seen those? On a high-rise? No top. Who's working above you? Iron workers are working above you. They're connecting. They're bolting up. I'm not going in there. Just saying. And most of the time, the bathrooms for women, if there is a women's bathroom, it's far across the job site. It's going to take you 10 minutes to walk there. You're going to go to the bathroom, and it's going to take you 10 minutes to get back. So now it's looked as if you're trying to get out of work. So what's very common with women in construction is they get urinary tract infections because they don't go to the bathroom. It's a problem. So I'm going to tell you about my experience on a high-rise. I worked in Chicago. It was cold. You guys have seen the one-piece Carhartt zip all the way up? I bought those because everybody was telling me this is the best way to keep you warm. I didn't realize until the first time I had to go to the bathroom what an inconvenience this was going to be. So I'm going to give you a demo. I unzip the Carhartts. I try to come out of them. You got to hold them because there's piss on the floor. So you got to hold them. And women, do we ever sit on the toilet seat? Nope. So now I'm going to hold my Carhartts and I'm going to hover. So I'm hovering and it's cold. And now it's so cold I can't pee because now my coat's off, right? Everything's off because I bought one-piece Carhartts. Lesson learned. I did not wear them again. But that's one of the things the guys could have told me but never thought of, right? Hey, don't get the one-piece because you might have a little bit of trouble. So I try to make sure that the women I talk to now know that one-piece Carhartts may not be your best solution. I also want to talk to you, though, about, I did a little bit of math. I looked at places all across the country to see how much a porta-john costs, and they cost between $150 and $300 a month. Nothing says welcome to a tradeswoman on the job than having their own bathroom. It means you thought about me before I got there. It's important. It's important because when we go to the bathroom, it's one of our most vulnerable times on a job site. Because especially if you're holding everything up and you're trying to do the hover and you've got some jerk beating on the bathroom door. So think about that with your clients. Bathrooms are really important and they're not that expensive, and it really says welcome to me. Another thing that the ironworkers have done, we rolled out in March of 2017 our maternity policy. Let me tell you what's in this policy. Every ironworker is eligible, every woman ironworker is eligible, as long as they have insurance through their hall, which means they've worked enough hours to have insurance, and they haven't used the policy in the last 24 months. Because what women were doing were hiding their pregnancies, wearing big baggy coveralls as long as they could, or overalls, and they weren't telling their doctors how dangerous our job really is. Imagine a very pregnant woman in a fall arrest system putting on a harness. What if she takes a fall? We really don't know what the harm would be to a fetus. So, our policy, 6 months prior to giving birth and 6 to 8 weeks after giving birth, we will give our pregnant female members $800 a week. Up to $800 a week. 66% of their pay, so they could be an apprentice making less than that. But we thought it was important. The reason why was at the 2016 Tradeswomen Build Nations Conference, the largest gathering of tradeswomen in the world. We had a caucus with our general president, and our general president was told by one of our members that she worked one day too long in the rod patch and lost her baby. As we were walking out of there, President Dean tells me he felt like he'd been sucker punched in the gut, that he never realized that a woman might have to choose between her career and growing her family, that we needed to figure it out, and we did. Now you're going to see that I just saw the electricians in the Pacific Northwest, 3 locals I believe were involved. They just came out with their own for that particular area. The carpenters in the north central states, they've come out with a pregnancy accommodation. It's coming. I really feel like every trade is going to have to come up with something because it's important. And because women are 51% of the population, yet we're only under 4% of the workforce in construction. If we're going to get women to come in, we need to let them know that they can also have a family. So this was a partnership between contractors and the union. And I was there for the vote, and I'm happy to say that it was 100% unanimous between labor and management that this policy would go forward. That's something in today's world, right? That labor and management are working that closely and caring enough about reproductive rights for women. I would be happy to take any questions you may have. I've certainly enjoyed being here. This has been amazing, and I'm really glad that I get to talk to lawyers that used to tell me what to do. This is amazing.
This woman is a powerhouse. Thank you for sharing your story, Vicki. It was awesome. I got this great picture of you doing this. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, there are probably many of us in the audience that would like to ask a question. I've got one to start, and then you all can think of a cogent question you'd like to ask. But would you give us some words of wisdom about helping our clients change their mindsets on inclusion and diversity? You've approached it with the Be That One Guy, and from your own personal experience on a very pragmatic level on the work site. What could you give us, words of wisdom you could give us to share with our clients similarly to help them?
Partly what we're going to find is that there's not enough white men to do the work. That's just it. There's just not. We have a construction shortage, and we've got some great women that are ready to take their place and that are doing it. We can do this. I mean, and that's where I would go, is with the construction shortage of people. So,
Excellent. And we have to start with the majority.
That's
Majority has to be on board. And I just want to say, look at all the members of the majority that are in this room. Thank you so much for being here, and the change has to start with the majority helping the
Absolutely.
minority. I have a question here. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm general counsel of a large electrical contractor that's a union company. What has Ironworkers been able to include in their collective bargaining agreements to cover some of these diversity issues, harassment, and that sort of thing? Is that included in your CBA, or is it something on the side? I'm just curious on that, so we can try to incorporate it in ours as well.
I'd be making it up if I
Thanks for
told
the
you.
question.
I know in Boston, there's a saying that 20% by 2020, they're not going to make it, but Boston does have the highest density of women. It's just opening the doors and letting us do it. Pete, do you have anything on that? Do you know?
I know very few CBAs that have anything to do with diversity or inclusion within the agreements. So it's really come more from the international and the impact level.
Yeah.
Go Impact. I got a question over here. Hold on. Diane Utz.
Hi, Vicki.
Hi.
I started my career as a landscaping laborer. Now I'm a lawyer. And I would love to know how people like me and anybody else who's interested can help you. Because I could share stories with you that it would make most of the people in this room cringe. So how can we help? Is there anything that we can do to help you with your message? Because you have 50 states and Canada here right now. So what can we do to help you?
I think maybe going to our district councils, especially with signatory contractors, and asking for the training, asking for what it is. I mean, we're not asking for a lot, right? We're just asking for people to act like people and not jerks, and to stop someone when they see it getting to that point of illegal harassment. We need to remind our brothers and sisters that that's what we are, as brothers and sisters. But yeah, going to our district councils or our regional advisory boards, which you'll see on our Impact website, especially with the list of signatory contractors that would like this kind of training, would like to hear what this is all about, I would be happy to do that.
Excellent. We have time for one more question.
Hi, good morning. My name's Terry Langford, and as a woman in construction, I've been in construction 20 years in the actual construction role. Started as an attorney, now in construction. I have found that the hardest thing for me to do as a woman is to figure out how to incorporate the younger women into our environment. I've been in it so long, I'm a little more numb to it, and I understand what I'm dealing with. But talking to the young women, like first day on the job, first week on the job, how do you respond? What do you do as a woman who's obviously has influence in your industry? How do you handle those younger women as they come in? And do you talk to them? Do you say nothing? Like, how do you handle them? Do you wait till there's an incident, or do you try to meet it up front? I mean, it's complicated. So, asking.
I'm going to tell you a story. Sorry. But we had a safety person that was on a job site. Mentorship is huge. And I think that by introducing yourself and letting them know that you're there and you're there to help them if they need it. We had a woman on a job site, and it was that time of the month that she didn't have anything with her. She went to the trailer, the safety people, and there was a woman there. And she was like, say no more. I gotcha. I'll run to the gas station. I'll go get what you need. Brought it back to the job site. Did so all the while nobody knew what was going on. It was amazing. They had never spoken. And it was kind of that unwritten rule where construction workers are not supposed to talk to anybody that is not a construction worker on a job site, right? Who made those rules? Somebody that's male, pale, and stale. We need to kind of push against the norm. We need to, when you see another woman on a job site, it's important to talk to them. I was told when I was an apprentice, don't talk to the other trades. Don't talk to any other women. How wrong is that? We're already by ourselves. We need to just really, now you'll see construction worker women, and especially because of the Tradeswomen Conference, you see another woman, it's like, hey, sister, how's it going? And just knowing that she's not alone can stop harassment because they know that somebody's going to stand up for her.
I think we should stop on that
All
because our
right.
time is up, and what a great message to close with the idea that we have to stand together. Thank you, Vicki O'Leary. What a fabulous message. That was a beautiful message. Whoa. Okay. Well, Vicki, you've got a couple hundred more fans now. Everybody, honestly, on social media, go follow Impact, follow the iron workers and the work that they're doing and the work that Vicki is doing. We can all make strides forward, and we have to do it together. I would like to invite you all, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Peter, for being here. Thank you, Richard. Wonderful to have you with us as our guests. Thank you all for being here so very, very much. Please do now make your way down the concourse here to the Presidio Ballroom. We'll be starting shortly after 9. Thank you very, very much.